to the build of Paulo and then ends up in the tournament getting the pairing against the champ himself and taking him down on the Azoria side of the Team or Rec matchup. But that's one that's going to be some long games for sure.
Paulo doing the classic Todd Anderson where he writes about a deck and then pulls a switcheroo and plays like last week's deck because that's the one he's more comfortable with, even though he thinks the new one is better.
But we are not watching any of that stuff this round. Brandon Burton, mono red aggro. Simon Nielsen, mono green aggro. Burton, I imagine, pretty relevantly winning the die roll and opening up with a 10 Street Dodger here.
Yeah, this is obviously like the type of start you want with mono red. You want to be on the play with a 1-drop. It looks like he has a lot of stuff to do over the next few turns as well.
Yeah, a little bit of a curve here. Plays a second land and a Castle Embreth. Has some options. Could shock this Pelt Collector or get aggressive. He's going to start by attacking with 10 Street Dodger. Nielsen doesn't think that's worth a Pelt Collector, so one will come in, and then Runaway Steamkin will join the party. Burton could have a really nice setup if he can draw a land, but things could get awkward quickly if he fails to do that.
Yeah, the Steamkin represents like a pretty explosive next turn, and with access to things like Torbrand and a ton of 1-drops, I could see that Steamkin kind of going off in the next few turns if something's not done about it.
Nielsen's gonna play a second land, and here's Surferin. That's gonna grow the Pallet Collector. Surferin not really stock in the mono green beatdown deck, but it looks really nice on turn 2. Pelt Collector rumbles in.
No, I mean, it's obviously the best time to play it is early in the game, so you do get those buffs. But of course, it is hard to protect itself. It is just a 2/2. It can't pump itself in the attack. It has to pump his teammates, basically.
Here's a potentially huge draw off the top for Burton. Light up the stage. He's going to shock down Surferin, rumble in for 3. Here's a light up. That's a second counter on the Steamkin. Finds 2 lands. All right, so if he wants it, he can Torbrand next turn. He can Embercleave next turn. There's some scary stuff on the horizon for Burton.
Yeah, this is a pretty impressive sequence of events here for Brandon Burton, but that's the mono red deck, and that's why he's playing it. It's so powerful, and when you play against a format that has very little removal, cards like Runaway Steamkin become a little more absurd than we're used to seeing.
Oh yeah, untapping with that is a big game. Nielsen's actually going to skip Heart's Desire just deploys a 5/5 Lovestruck Beast as a blocker, pumps the Pelt Collector, comes in for 3. But now here's Burton making his 4th land drop and has a lot of options. How do you see him playing this turn out?
I like a Torbrand into Stomp the 3/3 and maybe activate 10 Street Dodger to get in for a point. That way you get to clean up a little bit and you get to attack for a small amount. It's pretty hard for this deck to deal with something like Lovestruck Beast. Getting that Torbrand down, though, is like a step in the right direction.
Burton considering Robber of the Rich. Something about this Steamkin setup is that gets that to the 3rd counter. So now there's some mana to play with. Nothing else before attacks.
Yeah, Burton's choosing to go for the Embercleave route, which I don't blame him. I really love Torbrand, but here he can just play the Embercleave on the Runaway Steamkin. It'll make it into a 3/3 after it's all said and done, which will kill the Lovestruck Beast and do some damage, but maybe a different route here. Or maybe it gets to do both. Actually gets to do both. Yes.
Stomp on the beast, and now comes the Embercleave.
This is why
and this is so huge, right?
Better than me. Oh, he's so much better than me at this deck, dude.
So 2 damage on the beast before first striking with the cleave. Finish that off. That comes in for 4. The rest of the team connects as well. Nielsen to 7, facing down a giant double striking, trampling Steamkin.
Yeah, this is pretty brutal, but Simon does have a temporary answer. He can go Stone Coil into Gem Razor and blow up the Embercleave, but then he's still facing down quite a bit of pressure from Brandon Burton, and especially with that Torbrand looming, the Bone Crusher Giant, and even the Questing Beast that was found off of the Robber of the Rich if things go south.
Yeah, post-combat, not the best time for that card, but it's still some gas in the tank. It is worth paying attention to.
Oh, for sure. My favorite is when you randomly find out that other creatures that you didn't know were thieves or archers, whatever the
rogues like the 10 Street Dodger.
Yeah.
So there is that Gem Razor play you were describing, takes care of the Embercleave, but now Nielsen's got to just hang out, got to hang back. We'll see how much damage Burton can deal. Draws a Fervent Champion. We're getting to the stage now, too, where you have to pay attention to that Castle Embreth. Now, Burton doesn't have that many lands, but he does have a Steamkin hanging out with some counters on it.
Yeah, there's a couple options here for Burton. I don't mind something like a Torbrand, puts a steam counter on the Steamkin. Maybe you activate the Steamkin and cast Bone Crusher Giant, but it might even behoove him to go ahead and activate Tentree Dodger and just start getting into little chip damage because Simon doesn't have Creaturewood Defender, obviously.
Burton really wants it. Could get the Torbrand down and make the Dodger unblockable. Using that Steamkin mana.
Mm-hmm.
Hit some other stuff in the turn there. Sandy Dog's going to give it a think, though. Lands on committing Torbrand. We'll see if the Steamkin mana goes anywhere. Looks like it is. Fervent Champion getting cast. And the Dodger going to get unblockable here.
Kind of love this. Is this just lethal? No, it's not, right? It's just short.
You'd have two creatures unblocked, and one of them has to be a 1/1. So yeah, you make a block that's on both 2/2s.
Yeah, you make a block that's on both 2/2s. You lose your 4/4, and you go to 1 life against a Tentree Dodger. I love this attack from Sandy. It's very aggressive, but it puts him in a position where he's got 3 lethal attackers and some gas in the tank with the Bone Crusher, versus effectively just a 5/5 from Simon and what's left in hand. But holy moly, what a peel!
Scavenging Ooze off the top. It's fighting a bit of an uphill battle because that Dodger is unblockable. So if there's 3 creatures, Nielsen could go to 4, but that's unblockable Castle Embreth away from losing. So Burton is actually just a land away from lethal, even in spite of that Ooze.
Fair enough. Yeah, I thought that it was a potentially stabilizing draw with that Scavenging Ooze, but the damage output from Torbrand, the unblockable nature of Tentree Dodger, and that's it right there.
How about a Stomp?
Oh. Or
also just
mind.
Castle Embreth attack with my team.
Just never mind. It's just lethal 6 ways. It's fine. Had the Bone Crusher Giant from hand, that Stomp would have been enough as well, but Burton takes on game 1 in pretty impressive fashion.
Yeah, just a quick runaway game there on the back of a Steamkin. Embercleave doing some lifting. Torbrand making an appearance. A really good spread there for Burton. And this matchup is arguably not what he's looking to play against with all these high toughness creatures. You see some reasonably heavy sideboarding being considered here.
Yeah, I thought that game 1 was going to be favorable for the Stompy deck. Traditionally, the Stompy decks have a bit of an advantage in game 1 because they just have creatures that are a little too hard for traditional red spells to kill. But cards like Torbrand and Embercleave just provide so much blast damage as the game goes late that it just felt like they were playing completely different formats here. I mean, on the one hand, we have Mono Green, which is just deploying some, so basically some 2-mana 3/3s, versus a deck that's playing Torbrand and Embercleave. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, you mentioned just kind of historically, traditionally, the way a matchup like this would line up. There's a lot of attacking and blocking, but Embercleave removes a lot of the potential value you could gain from blocking.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't remove the damage potential from attacking, just from the blocking part. But game 2 should go a little bit better for Simon if he's able to find some of those pieces of interaction. The Primal Rages, those fight effects and bite effects out of the sideboard could do a lot of work for him here in containing those problematic creatures from Sandy Dog.
Nielsen does get to be on the play. Burton looking at a mulligan to 6. Some cards off the sideboard here. Scorching Dragonfire and also Red Cap Melee. How do you like bringing that in against a non-red deck?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm never going to question Sandy, dude. I'm sorry. Like, he's the best. It is rough because if you do cast your Red Cap Melee, it is going to be brutal because you do have to sacrifice the land. But, like, it does kill a 4/4, which red has a lot of trouble doing. But that's kind of the whole trade-off of Red Cap Melee and why the card is so interesting in general.
Sure, and it costs 1 mana. If you're expecting your Steamkin to live, that can work out just fine. Nielsen's going to put a gem raiser here on the troll. 5 points coming across. But now Burton untaps with Steamkin.
This is what I like to call going egg roll. He's getting very aggressive.
Burton's going to point a Dragonfire at the Gem Raiser. That means melee is how we'll get finished off. It costs Burton a land, but there is another land hanging out in the hand, and the Steamkin is up to a 3/3.
Yeah, technically a 3-card for 2-card trade and -5 damage, but the resources that trade for 1 in that scenario don't matter quite as much when you're able to get that 5/5 off the battlefield when it's presenting such a huge clock.
Good recovery for Nielsen. Heart's Desire plus Lovestruck Beast. Burton draws half of Splinter Twin. Here's Anax Hardened in the Forge. Just looking for the cleave from here.
I believe in the cleave.
Ooh, ram through off the top for Nielsen, though. This could be a problem for Burton.
Aptly named, if you ask me.
Very flavorful card.
Yeah. I love that it just does the trample damage, too. It's so cool. Like, it's so flavorful.
Nielsen's going to attack with the Lovestruck Beast to get it started. Remember, ram through is an instant. Kind of better than mini fight spells in a couple different ways. 5 connects, Burton will fall to 10. And a post-combat questing beast. You don't see those too often.
No, but if he played it before attacks, I think Sandy probably would have double blocked, and he didn't really want him to.
Right. Burton's going to draw. Here's a Castle Embereth. Robber of the Rich cast pre-combat, just with a Scorching Dragonfire in hand. A 1/1, a 5/5, and a 4/4 on the other side of the table. Not great Dragonfire targets, so Burton's going to think about attackers.
Yeah, you might want to offer a trade on with either Anax or the Runaway Steamkin. It's going to slam in for 4. Simon's going to take it. Interesting. Simon not looking to play defense at all.
Yeah, well, he wants the 1/1 so the beast can attack, right? And the questing beast probably worth about as much as the Steamkin, and life totals where they are. Nielsen reasonably comfortable at 13 on tapping with this ram through.
Yeah, this is starting to get really tenuous for Burton. He's trying to figure out a way to play offensively and defensively in the face of these extremely large creatures.
Nielsen's going to fire up Mobilize District. And keep in mind, Anax does make tokens when you lose creatures. However, they are tokens that can't block.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
So before attacks, Burton's going to use Scorching Dragonfire, target that 1/1, stop that Lovestruck Beast from attacking. And Nielsen's going to take this as the window to fire off that ram through. Though it has to consider what to destroy. It's just going to be Anax. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's smart. The Steamkin's mana generation is not a big deal anymore because Burton has no cards in hand. The Lovestruck Beast can't attack anymore, which is why you saw the ram through target it.
Anax would just be the most threatening thing if Burton could produce an Embercleave here. Though the Steamkin would still be a problem.
Yeah, but like you said, the Satyrs not being able to block is a pretty big deal here. You know, if Simon's able to basically find another Lovestruck Beast or some 1/1 creature here to be able to turn it on, it could put himself in a really advantageous position. Whoa.
Just an attack with the Robber of the Rich. Finds Lovestruck Beast, does Burton. So the Beast does get to eat the Robber. Now Burton gets to cast a 5/5. This is kind of a big deal because it's a second creature that can actually block Questing Beast.
Second creature that can block Questing Beast, and also just a large creature that can start attacking because of all these 1/1s that Burton has. If he's able to find an answer to that Lovestruck Beast, maybe able to start chunking in, but any blocker is a good blocker at this point if you're on either side.
Life totals, Burton 3 to Nielsen 13, and both players just drawing lands. We're going to be hanging out here for a minute, it seems.
A classic aggro strategy. This is not the type of gameplay you expect from these decks because the format has kind of warped them in such a way where they're all like low to the ground, explosive. They try to kill the opponent as fast as possible before like Growth Spiral, Teferi, all these cards kind of take over the game. But we're in this weird kind of alternate dimension where people are just trading resources back and forth, almost like that's what Magic's was like supposed to look like and be like.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because if you end up in a game like this against Team of Reclamation, Azorius Control, Bant Ramp, that just means that they're just going to kill you. Your opponent just has better top decks than you.
Exactly.
What's happening here is both players just kind of staring at each other. Who do you think is favored from this position?
I think Sandy Dog's favored just because the mono red deck has access to cards that will kill Simon given enough time, Torbrand and Embercleave. But with that said, Simon's average draw is a little bit better because his average casting cost is a bit higher. So when we're at parity, you definitely want to be the one that's drawing into the the 3, 4s, and 5 drops instead of the 1s and 2 drops.
Speaking of 1 drops, this second Steamkin not looking as exciting as the first.
It rarely does, unless you have Experimental Frenzy on the battlefield.
You're reminding me of better days.
Yeah, do you remember the last time you saw anyone in Standard get like actual mana flooded? Do you remember the last time? Because I don't.
Yeah, that's not a big part of today's Standard format, is it?
No, it's not. The aggro decks are basically the only ones that do it, which is maybe why people stop playing them so much.
Yeah, I was going to say, I suppose we see this mono green aggro deck do it now and again. Last week we did see it put up some top 16, some top 32s, fail to make the top 8.
And yet Cedric Phillips is still playing it, so it's got to be mediocre.
To Cedric's credit, he's like top 50 Mythic on Arena, somewhere in that ballpark right now.
Yeah, and Croaky Z's number 1, dude. I don't know what you're trying to say.
I guess a big thing about climbing the ladder is Green gets to play more matches more quickly. That's a big part of it.
That's true.
All right, Nielsen's going to do some beatdowns now. Both mobilized districts now being activated. That creature land looking a lot better than Castle Embrith for Burton here.
Right. We have 4 lethal attackers and only 2 tradable blockers. So this attack makes a lot of sense from Simon because he has to actually put creatures in the right spots to like chump block as well as like trade and stay alive block on the other side. So
and also the questing beast trading away, that's fine. Nielsen's got a backup.
Exactly. And it has haste, so it's going to be able to come down next turn and maybe even be like a surprise attacker for the win. We'll see if Burton has any recourse from the top of his deck.
Mountain is not looking like recourse here.
Well, I don't think that the questing beast can be cast as well as the mobilized district activated just yet, but maybe there's enough mana there. It's hard to tell.
Both the districts did survive when they were both at. You can't get beast and double district, but you can get beast and a single district.
Okay. Yeah, beast plus single district should be enough.
Yeah, beast and single district, and Burton's seen enough. We are going to game number 3. And once again, Burton will be on the play. That looked really good on his side of things in game 1.
Oh, for sure. Your 1-drop scale so much better when you're on the play. They allow you to produce a lot of extra damage when you're on the play versus draw. And that kind of cascading effect of being on the play, having your cards do a little more each time because you're on the play before your opponent's really ready and set up, can be the whole difference in an aggro v aggro matchup.
In that game, we did not see Embercleave show up, and so it was a lot of just attacking and blocking. And having the initiative can be a huge deal in a game like that. Though here's another part of game 2. Though this disadvantage is going to carry forward. Burton looking at an unkeepable 7 once again. Fairly acceptable 6, though.
Yeah, the 6 seems fine. Having a Shield Breaker to be able to kill a Stone Cold Serpent's pretty cool, especially if you expect to see the Gem Razor play. Because even though the Gem Razor's on top, I believe it's still an artifact creature, but not 100% on that. Gonna have to get a rules lawyer in here. Ricky! Ricky Ayashi, where are you?
It's Robber the Rich attacking into a Heart's Desire token, steals a Stone Coil Serpent. That could be a nice one for Burton to cast on a later turn.
Yeah, and as an X spell, he gets to use all of his mana that turn if he does decide to attack with a Robber, depending on how that shakes out.
And here's a play that I think is pretty defining in this matchup. Is Barkhide Troll just holds off that Robber of the Rich super effectively. Burton produces Anax, and now we're in the I would like to draw my Embercleave phase of the game.
Right. Embercleave would definitely be a heavy hitter here for Burton. Doesn't have a land to play, though, for Simon, looking to try to figure out the best play for the rest of the turn, because with access to only 2 mana, his options are really limited.
Yeah, no third land for Nielson. A bunch of 2-mana options. And some 1-mana options, some technically 1-mana options. If you're Nielson, do you have any interest in firing off something like this Primal Might, or are you just trying to get on the battlefield a little bit more?
Honestly, I don't know. This is a really precarious position for Simon because he did miss that land drop. I mean, the Anax is obviously like pretty large. Most of your creatures are unable to fight it, and like if you just play a Scavenging Ooze, that feels really weak. So I don't really know what I would do if I'm in Simon's shoes. This matchup is
well, the rope is burning. You got to make a decision.
Yeah, one way or another.
Nielson thinking about Ram Through. Play around that Splinter Twin combo. It's going to take that Anax off the table, but a backup Anax drawn. Gotta imagine Burton is happy with that turn of events.
Yeah.
Still not able to make great attacks.
Yeah, I mean, that's the power of Barkhide Troll, you know, just a 2-mana 3/3. We were talking about how just the rate on mana to body size matters in these aggro matchups, and we're seeing Barkhide Troll literally invalidate the 1 and 2 drop from Burton here. It's the 3 drop from Burton that's proving to be more troublesome in Anax, but there's not really much that Simon can do about it. You know, he already killed one, and it's pretty hard to kill the other one because Primal Might is a fight, not a bite, like the Ram Through. He doesn't have enough mana to make it go over the top of it just yet.
Yeah, not enough mana to pump into that plus X effect. Just deploys a Scavenging Ooze after missing land 3 again. And now Burton draws Bone Crusher Giant. So he's going to take some time to think about attacks. Opts to give 10th Street Dodger on some unblockability. That and Anax being considered as attackers. That's where Burton will land. That does open up this Stone Coil Serpent because of that rogue attack. Anax blocked by the Troll. Before damage, you see a Stomp. Takes care of that Scavenging Ooze. Anax trades away, so now Burton with 4 Satyr tokens. Finally, land number 3 for Nielson. Here's a backup Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, now that the board is simplified a bit more, you're seeing both players pick up in speed as far as how quickly they're playing this game.
Now, this is not necessarily a land that Burton wanted, but it is Castle Embereth, and with 4 Satyr tokens, that could be a huge difference maker here.
Oh, for sure. The Scavenging Ooze is a bit threatening, though, because it can become a 3/3, so it can eat one of those tokens safely and gain a life, even in the face of the Castle Embereth. But it might just move Burton to just slam in with all the creatures here and maybe not even use the castle and maybe cast something off the Robber of the Rich like that Stone Coil Serpent from earlier.
Yeah, that is kind of a big deal about just the Ooze with 1 mana, right? Is the Robber of the Rich, at worst, proposes a trade with the Ooze, and Burton's probably happy getting that off the table.
Oh!
Ram Through, taken by the Robber.
See how this goes. He may want to try to do that. On the Scavenging Ooze now. And then even if there is... So that forces... Oh, that actually might just force the giant growth here. That's okay. This is actually pretty bad for Burton.
So ram through was attempted. Giant growth will save the Scavenging Ooze.
Yeah, and it can still block and eat the Robber of the Rich for basically for free. Dodger's going to get traded off with the 1/1 token as well. This is basically worst case scenario for Burton, but still can just play the Stone Cold Serpent, so things aren't like that bad. Could also just play
You do see the 2/2 Stonecoil Serpent post-combat. Nielson down to 12, but now untapping with Scavenging Ooze and has a 4th land. Here comes the Lovestruck Beast, 1 land still up. Ooze gonna immediately go to work. Grows to a 3/3 now. Against a deck with some Bone Crusher Giants, some stomp effects, that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. People don't main phase effects and spells nearly enough, in my opinion.
Burton draws a land. This one, much more unwelcome than that Castle Embereth. Just Mountainous land number 5 as Bone Crusher Giant is cast, and here is a backup Robber the Rich, but no attacks now for Burton. Starting to fall behind the green creatures.
Yeah, I mean, the creatures are basically just outclassing them by themselves.
Is there a way for Burton to get scrappy here, or do you think he's largely looking for Embercleave?
It's just got to be Embercleave, I think. You know, like he's needs something to break through. Otherwise, like he's just going to lose on the board. And Embercleave is the thing that busts through that the best, you know.
I suppose that's why these red decks play 4 copies, right? Despite it being legendary, despite it having some diminishing returns because more creatures enable the first copy, you do just kind of always want to draw it.
Right. It's always excellent, you know. Even when it kind of looks bad, it's only bad for like a turn and then it just ends the game. It's just so powerful. I mean, there's a reason why it sees so much play even in Pioneer, you know.
Just a land and a pass. Burton just trying to hang out, waiting to draw that Embercleave. Nielsen's going to pick up, now with 4 lands, a Questing Beast off the top. Couple Stonecoil Serpents have been in hand the whole game. Primal Might as well. Are you more interested in a 4/4 Stonecoil Serpent or a Questing Beast, or is there an argument to even Primal Might on this turn?
Primal Might feels kind of wasteful because you want to get that big buff from attacking on like a Trampler, maybe like a Questing Beast or something, while you kill something. Using it like Prey Upon is also just like fine at other points. Nothing on the other side of the table really requires killing at the moment, in my opinion. Looks like maybe though the Simon's going to just deploy 1 more blocker with the Stonecoil to make sure things don't go awry, and then probably just looking to eat a bunch of stuff with Scavenging Ooze to get it nice and tight, gain some extra life, etc., etc.
1/1 Stonecoil Serpent. Like I said, leaving up 3 green mana for Scavenging Ooze. Interesting line, and Burton's been hanging out with Ember's Shieldbreaker. Do you think Burton is even going to shatter a 1/1?
I can't imagine so, no.
Well, looks like Burton's considering it just because the Shieldbreaker has kind of been rotting in hand. Burton also probably just interested in getting as many bodies on the table as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to get full value out of your stuff sometimes, but here with Castle Embereth looming, all these satyrs, it's possible that Burton just wants to get this game over with before things get out of hand. I think the 1/1 Stonecoil Serpent's a show of weakness from Simon, and maybe Sandy's trying to pick up on that, push the advantage he has on board. Wouldn't even be surprised to see like a full-blown attack this turn with the Castle Embereth activation.
Scavenging Ooze going to work after we see Burton make no attacks. Grows to a 4/4. couple green mana, probably just going all the way here. You see it go to 5.
Yeah, enough things have died in the earlier turns where the Scavenging Ooze. This is one of the reasons why this card is such a huge addition to the format. Like, it's so powerful. We see it across Legacy, Modern, Pioneer, and now Standard once again, and it is just dominating this red deck. It's a 6/6. It's already gained 4 life, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
And something that's really interesting, if you remember back to sideboarding, is Burton boarded out Light Up the Stage, and it makes a lot of sense. In the early game, we saw a game where Burton really couldn't attack, but now that he's flooded, that divination kind of effect might be one of the better things he'd be drawing to. Instead, the deck has some Scorching Dragonfires, some Red Cap melees, stuff that can't really take care of Scavenging Ooze, and that's the strength of Scavenging Ooze. It just scales really well with the game.
Yeah, and no matter when you draw early, it can just trade or be like a decent blocker. If you draw it mid to late game, it just dominates. It's just so big, gain some life, contain the graveyard. Not that the graveyard part's all that relevant, but like the fact that it does all those things in such a neat little package and you get to pay for it in installments is just such a huge deal.
It scavenges, it oozes.
What more could you ask for?
It attacks, it blocks, manages the graveyard, does all this for just one easy payment of 1 a green, and if you read the fine print, some green mana later.
Oh, buddy.
Nielson is gonna go for that Primal Might, get that Bone Crusher Giant out of the way. Is he considering some attacking soon here?
I don't know. This is really interesting to me, but it looks like he's just gonna go ahead and slam the Primal Might to kill the Bone Crusher Giant for now.
Burton employs one of my favorite plays, activate Castle Embreth so Arena stops giving you priority. This is my only action. Yeah, the Lovestruck Beasts, they are going to be attacking. You see a 2/2 Stone Cold Serpent deployed. But now Nielsen thinking about getting aggressive. Those Satyr tokens, remember, those can't block.
Right, and that's honestly coloring the outcome of this game more than likely is the fact that they can't block, because those Lovestruck Beasts are going to rumble in here for sure, looks like. And I think that Simon's actually considering sending in Scavenging Ooze as well, because if he attacks with both Lovestruck Beasts, it's a pretty easy double block. But if he attacks with both Beasts and the Scavenging Ooze, maybe it's a lot harder.
Ooh. So one Beast connects, and now Burton draws Torbrand. Those 1/1 Satyrs looking a bit more threatening now, but there is still a untapped 5/5 and a 6/6 Scavenging Ooze on the other side of the table.
Yeah, but this is where it starts to turn around, right? Like if you're Brandon, like this is the draw where things that can actually start going back your way. Because Simon, he's not really that close to lethal, thanks to just having like 4 actual blockers, especially now that they're all doing basically double damage.
You see Questing Beast for Nielsen. Notably, that's just unblockable here until the Castle Embreth could give something to 3 power. Not even Torbrand can jump in front, so that's an easy attack. With Vigilance.
Yeah, the Torbrand doesn't actually help against the Lovestruck Beast, though, so this is actually like a little bit awkward. The double up still requires a double block. So some sort of all-out attack here from Simon might actually put Burton in a precarious position. He's already in a bad spot, but it might put him into a no top decks win you the game type situation.
Burton went to 15 off that last hit. Oh yeah, Nielsen's considering turning up the heat here. You see all the large creatures with the arrow currently.
Yeah, I wouldn't even mind sending in Pelt Collector or the Stone Cold Serpent doesn't make a ton of sense because the Torbrand just gets to eat 1. Sending in both of them restricts the blocking combinations a bit. A chump block from the Stone Cold Serpent on the Scavenging Ooze makes a lot of sense, but it might be better to use it in tandem with a double block to actually deal with something on the battlefield like the Bone Crusher instead of a chump. But the options are limited here no matter what you do.
Burton just chumping the Scoos. That's going to leave him at 1. Facing down 4 blockers.
I haven't done the math. Not yet.
Well, I don't think that the shock math. I think you were describing Embercleave math.
No, dude, I'm thinking Torbrand math, and I think the shock is actually lethal, dude. I think the shock is lethal. He's gonna send in with everybody. He can shock the Lovestruck Beast before combat, right?
Okay.
That's only 3 blockers, and then he uses Castle Embereth, and that's 16 damage because all the satyrs have 2 power and they deal 4 each.
Oh wow.
This is just lethal. Simon has no cards in hand. Let's go, Torbrand, dude.
Torbrand putting some Torbrand and those Anax tokens.
Oh no, Simon found maybe the worst attack because it left him dead. 1 chump block from the Stone Coil Serpent was enough, and it looks like the game has ended. Burton gonna find the line here with the Castle Embereth, man.
You really put the opponent to 1 with lethal on the way back. You see the castle there. There's 3 unblocked satyrs. Those are good for 4 each, and
he needed a haster. Shock. He needed a haster or a shock. And needed something off the top. Found the shock, but that combined with the Castle Embereth, it's going to be enough to get the job done here for Brandon Burton. Sandy Dog going to move to 3-0.
Here's the castle. There's the shock. Like you said, that's 16. There's the oops from Simon Nielson. A little too aggressive on the attacks. The ooze can gain 1 life, but it needed to gain a little bit more than that. And Brandon Burton, really nice navigation there, wins a 3-game set in what might be one of the harder